Hello and welcome to World News America. I'm Katrina Perry. The Israeli military says its forces have encircled Gaza City after encountering fierce resistance from Hamas fighters. A joint operation from ground, sea and air forces saw Israeli troops break through the Hamas front lines in the north of Gaza earlier today and advance rapidly south. The fighting comes as Gaza's health ministry says more than 9,000 people have now been killed in Israeli strikes since the deadly Hamas attacks on the 7th of October. Israel's intense bombardment of Gaza continued on Thursday with a third deadly airstrike in as many days on the densely populated Jabalia refugee camp. The Hamas-run health ministry said at least 27 people were killed in the strike, which it claimed was near a UN school. Our international editor Jeremy Bone has the latest.
More evidence that nowhere in Gaza is safe. Israel hit Burej refugee camp. For days, Israel has been ordering civilians in Gaza to move south for their own safety. Burej is inside the area where they were told to go, and thousands of displaced people were sheltering there. The UN Human Rights Office has said that so many civilians have been killed and wounded in Israeli airstrikes that it has serious concerns that these are disproportionate attacks that could be war crimes. A girl was pulled out alive. She asks the stretcher bearers, "Are you taking me to my grave?" The men try to reassure her that she's not dead. Across Gaza, unknown numbers of dead are buried under the rubble. In Burej camp, he's asked who he's looking for. My four children. My four children, he says. Oh God, why did you leave me and die? Israel says it wants to destroy Hamas. Civilians, it says, are killed because Hamas uses them as human shields. Israel has released pictures of some of its latest attacks. Based on reports from inside Gaza and Israeli military statements, it seems clear that they are pushing forward into Gaza City. The pictures released by the army are pre-edited. They don't want to give away locations. Hamas, as far as we can tell, is using hit-and-run tactics against what is a much more powerful army. To support the ground war in Gaza, the Israeli military says it's only using half its air power. The troops have been visited by Israel's Prime Minister, Benjamin Netanyahu.
I call on the uninvolved. Get out, move south, because we will not quit our effort to eliminate the Hamas terrorists. We will advance and win.
This is Jabalia in northern Gaza, hit 3 days running. Israel defends its targeting vigorously, but it also knows that pictures like this every day make it harder for its allies to push back demands for a ceasefire. The boy is saying, "We didn't do anything wrong. We didn't do anything wrong." The UN says 22 people sheltering in 4 of its schools were killed today. It isn't clear what hit this one in Jabalia. What is clear from the evidence and UN statements is that nowhere is safe in Gaza. Jeremy Bone, BBC News, Southern Israel.
Well, let's speak now to our correspondent, John Donison, who is in Jerusalem. John, another update from the IDF today. They say they have Gaza City encircled. What's the latest on the military campaign?
Well, their ground operation is clearly advancing, they say. Yesterday they said they were at the gates of Gaza City. Today Benjamin Netanyahu said they had passed into the outskirts of Gaza City. And today an Israeli military spokesperson said they had Gaza City completely encircled. So the ground operation is advancing. They are facing resistance. We've seen 19 Israeli soldiers now killed. And it has to be said that the area on the approach to Gaza City is relatively open. You know, there are small towns and villages which are maybe easier to move through. Once you get to the densely built up urban area of Gaza City itself, it's going to be increasingly difficult and complex, of course. And of course, one of Israel's objectives is to remove Hamas's military capabilities and their ability to govern. The other is, of course, to free those hostages, and carrying out that ground offensive while trying to get those hostages out alive is not going to be easy.
Now, we saw more people, again, mostly foreign nationals, leaving Gaza through the Rafah crossing today. Is there a sense that that number is set to increase?
Well, look, the Egyptian authorities had been saying that they were going to try and get through about 500 people a day, foreign passport holders, and a small number of critically injured people. I don't think they've reached that number today. I think more than 100 people have managed to get out. We know some Americans, passport holders, were able to leave, a few British passport holders. But there are more than 7,000 foreign nationals in Gaza, so it is going to take a considerable amount of time to get them all out. And of course, the key thing is that is just a tiny fraction of the, 2.2 million or so people who live in Gaza, the vast majority of whom have no chance of getting out.
Now, the US Secretary of State Antony Blinken is on his way there. He says US diplomacy can make a difference. How is his visit likely to be received?
Well, I think there will be some US diplomacy in putting pressure on to try and get the American citizens out. I think when he was here a few weeks ago, Mr. Blinken, he really offered Israel unconditional support. They have been urging Israel to try and limit the number of civilian casualties, and America believes that Israel is trying to do that. But by the time Mr. Blinken leaves this visit, we're going to be on the way to 10,000 people killed in Gaza, according to Palestinian health officials in Gaza, and the UN also publishes those figures. So, not all of those are militants. A lot of civilians are getting caught up. And, I was speaking to a British government minister yesterday, and I said, look, when does Israel's response to Hamas's attack on October the 7th become disproportionate? Is it at 10,000 deaths in Gaza, 20,000, 100,000? He didn't want to give an answer. But I do think as the number of people being killed continues to rise, countries like America, European countries are going to be under increasing pressure, I think, to try and put pressure on Israel to limit the number of people being killed.
Okay, John Donison in Jerusalem, thank you for that.